Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Aisha and today I'm going to be telling you about my scheduled C-section during a pandemic. So first I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I had a scheduled C-section. This was my second C-section in my second pregnancy, and my first pregnancy I went about 2 weeks overdue, and I was induced, and I had to have a emergency C-section because my son's heart rate was dropping. And that's a really scary experience to go through. The nurses are rushing into the room. They aren't really explaining to you what's going on. And I went into the hospital to be induced, I think by 12 o'clock. 12 a.m. they started the medicine, and by 8 a.m. they were doing the scheduled C-section, and it just was not going well. And that experience is very scary. So I just opted this time around to schedule my C-section. I did kind of have in my head that if I went into natural labor this time around, I would just see if my body could have my baby naturally, but that didn't happen. I did schedule my C-section. I asked my doctors to get it as close to my due date as possible, and my scheduled C-section date was 2 days before my actual due date. And I had not gone into labor at that point, so I was okay with going through the C-section process this time around. And a scheduled C-section is very different from an emergency C-section. So because of COVID, I did schedule to have a COVID test done before the surgery. You will need to get that done, at least in my area, because you're going to have a surgery, so they need to know if you have COVID or if you don't have COVID. So I took the test. They got my results, and I think I took my test 6 days before I actually gave birth. They just instruct you to quarantine, and that was the most amount of time that you can have in between taking the test and surgery. So I would just try to get your COVID test as close to your surgery as possible, because you don't want to have to take 2 COVID tests for no reason. So my doctor told me I had to be at the hospital at 6 a.m. and my C-section would take place at 8 a.m. that morning. So me and my husband stayed at my in-laws' house. They watched my son over the weekend. And yeah, so we left from here, and it was very early in the morning. We went to the hospital, and when you get to the hospital, they check you in. They start to give you whatever medicine you need or whatever IVs you need to start surgery. So they kind of just get you in the process of monitoring your baby at first, and they register you if you're not registered. We had actually had several false alarms because of Braxton Hicks contractions, and basically they kind of said that I had a irritable uterus. And because my babies were on the bigger side, my first child was very big, that my uterus was causing me to have a lot of contractions. It did not cause any dilation, so it was false labor. So we were already registered at that point. We had been to the hospital quite a few times. So we just chilled in the room for about 2 hours. And then we rolled into the delivery room. I met my anesthesiologist, and they started the process of giving you your spinal or epidural. I personally am not sure what the difference between the two is, but they basically give you some type of anesthesia in your back to numb you really, I think, from like the breast down. It was a much different atmosphere than the first time when I was scared. And so my husband was able to take pictures and record a little bit. And you kind of just feel your body going numb. They keep checking you, they begin to poke you, and they try to make sure you can't feel anything before they start cutting. And you won't feel it like pain, but you will feel when they are kind of tugging at your body, because they are cutting through multiple layers. They lay you down and you have the sheet up so you can't see anything. And I think at first they keep your spouse out, so my husband didn't get to come in, I think, until closer to like the delivery part. they cut you open and your baby does come out. I think it's a misconception that you don't like kind of give birth. Just take a picture. You're gonna start to see as the baby comes up over your tummy.
Good, I got it.
They hold him up, they clean him off, and then they swaddle him and bring him over to you so that you can do skin to skin. So you do get to see your baby. You get to have that moment when your eyes meet and you enjoy your baby being born. It takes a while for them to continue to sew you up and get everything closed back up. So they do wheel the baby out. My husband was with the baby the entire time, and while I was finishing up, and then they transfer you to like another gurney, I think it's called, and then you're in the recovery room. And in the recovery room, they check all of your vitals, they watch you, they check on how much you're bleeding. You do bleed vaginally, so they check on the amount of bleeding you're having. And I think I kept falling asleep and I kept snoring. So I was in the recovery room a lot longer this time because the nurse wanted to make sure I was just snoring because I snored and not because I wasn't getting enough oxygen. And I think at that point I actually was not getting enough oxygen, so I had to wear the oxygen mask until a certain point, and then they rolled me into the room. And this is the difference between COVID and not having the baby in the pandemic. The recovery room, the first time our parents were able to come in, and this time around it was just us. So my husband did take his phone, so he was able to snap a lot of pictures of us in the recovery room and send them to our family, because they obviously would not be able to see the baby for a few days. And at our hospital, we can only have one visitor, and that one visitor was my husband, and he could not leave. He had to stay there, bring everything for the weekend. And when you have a C-section, you do typically stay in the hospital for 3 or 4 days. When you are rolled into your room, all of your stuff is usually already there because your husband can go to the room while you're getting prepped for surgery. And you kind of settle in. At this point, you will have a catheter in, so you will not have to get up out of the room for a few hours. And then when they do come to take the catheter out, they will change like the pad and the undergarments that you are in, and they will help you do that. The first time I think they change your undergarments and your pad, you will also have the catheter in, and it is a little uncomfortable. And then after a few hours, they will take the catheter out and you will pee in the bathroom, and then they'll show you how to change your pad and stuff. But the nurses are all there to accommodate you because you did just have a major surgery and you will be in pain. So then over the next few days, that pain does subside. They definitely give you medicine throughout the time. They will give you a stronger medicine and a lighter medicine. They'll give you a nausea medicine. They'll give you a stool softener because you will have to go to the bathroom and your stomach muscles have been cut. I could eat pretty soon after I gave birth. As well, nobody can bring you food. You can order food and your nurse can go and pick it up for you from downstairs, or your spouse might be able to, but no one else can come and bring you food into your room. And that was a major difference between this time and last time. So it's really just you, your baby, and whoever your one visitor is in your room for 3 or 4 days. And so I personally was kind of out of it because I had major surgery. They give you very strong drugs, prescription medication, and you are a little out of it. I try as soon as I'm able to cope with the pain. I try not to take the heavy drugs as much, but if you need them, take them. You won't need to bring much. Like, I think my husband bought his Xbox. He really didn't even touch it. I don't even think he plugged it up, because you're just so in love with your baby. You're holding your baby. You're doing skin to skin. And I do recommend bringing a charger and a boppy pillow. If you're going to breastfeed, that's going to be helpful, because it'll help you hold your baby and you won't have to use stomach muscles. Yeah, I can definitely do what to bring to the hospital for a C-section delivery if you guys are interested. It was 3 months ago, so it wasn't that long where I don't remember, and I've done it twice. So just let me know in the comments if you're interested in that. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.